Colourful they may be, but don't be fooled by the gleam of paint or the shine of the exotic badges. These cars are driven hard.
Turn one, there's an incident here already!
The Vodka O Australian GT Championship returns to the Harbour City for round 3. 2011 has so far gone to the dogs, with the pet food Mosler of Clark Quinn coming into the Sydney event with a narrow points margin over Mark Eddy and his Audi R8 LMS. Recent success for Dean Grant, sharing the driving duties with Daniel Gaunt, has thrown the Porsche duo into the mix, whilst the high horsepower Viper of Greg Crick, complete with new Jeep sponsorship, is tailor-made for the Eastern Creek layouts. Add to this the return of current champ David Wall and the debut of arguably Mercedes' best-looking sedan racer, and it's anyone's guess what lies at the end of 60 minutes of competition. The Vodka O Australian GT Championship.
It's been a quick turnaround for competitors in this series. Round 2 just a week ago at Winton Motor Raceway. Hi everybody, Greg Ruston, Cameron McConville with you at Eastern Creek for round 3. We'll talk about this stunning new car and its race debut in a moment. But a driver making a welcome return to the series is Greg Crick in the Jeep-backed Dodge Viper GT3.
I like the product. I like the car. It's a bit different. You know, people think it's a big cumbersome car, but it's actually a lovely car to drive. It's nicely balanced. I like the style of the car, and it was the only car in FIA GT3 that I could probably afford to buy and to run. They're probably the cheapest car in the field to run, I would imagine. The car that I have now is an FIA GT3 spec car. I bought it out of England. It was the car that won the 07 British Championship, and when we got it back here, it was just a pile of rubbish, so we stripped it to the bare chassis, and it's had a complete rebuild in our workshops in Launceston. It's a simpler car than a lot of the European exotic cars. We don't have traction control, we don't have paddle shifts. It's a much simpler car, so there's a bit more work in driving it, but it's also a lot cheaper to maintain, a lot cheaper to run. I've been thinking about approaching Chrysler for a couple of years. I went to them with a proposal and they jumped at the opportunity, thankfully, and they come up with the innovative idea of wrapping the car to make it look like a Jeep. It's got the Jeep grille because this is the year that they're using to promote the Jeep in Australia, the 70th anniversary of the Jeep, and I think the resultant colour scheme on the car is pretty spectacular, and represents pretty well what Chrysler Australia are trying to do.
Let's take a closer look at the Eastern Creek layout now. Cam.
3.93 Ks, Rusty. This track is absolutely perfect for a GT car. Loads of downforce, quite a wide rear tyre on them, and a very, very fast lap set in qualifying here, a 1:30.8. But greasy conditions. Whoa, look at this.
Mark Eddy in trouble here on the outlap. He had a good grid position for this race, and as a consequence, as you can see here now, well down the order, he won't take up his regular grid spot. Should have been coming out of position 3. It's Greg Crick controlling the field. It's a rolling start for this series. David Wall, the 2-time champion, will start right beside him.
Clark Quinn, Ian Palmer, Peter Hackett well down there. So they've got to control the speed. The green flag will be near the start-finish line. Now, these drivers have been told over Race Management Channel to leave a gap at the second row of the grid. So doesn't appear to be happening at this point.
That clearly hasn't happened, so that will be the subject of some talk in race control, but Crick leads them to turn 1 for the first time. David Wall in the Michelin-backed Porsche. You ride with him now through turn 1. How tricky are these conditions? Not quite damp enough to run full wet weather tyres.
That's exactly right. Every car on the Michelin-controlled slick tyre. The Porsche should be very, very speedy in these conditions, but just really gentle on the throttle out of turn 2. He'll be a big short shift to third gear. Sequential gearbox and very busy at the wheel.
And it's just the one VIP Pet Foods car today. In race 1 yesterday, some dramas for the Aston Martin of Clark's father, Tony Quinn. Mark Eddy moves by the Boylan Traffic Solutions Porsche. Peter Boylan doing a great job in the challenge class yesterday. And there's his main rival. In the Bundy Rum entry, the Exige coming through the field. There's Ash Samadhi making a move in another of the Moslers. We ride with Stig Richards now. This 1-hour race, you can change drivers. Look at the Mercedes moving its way through the field. Peter Hackett at the wheel.
Now this car should be pretty speedy, Rusty, in these conditions. Obviously a lot lighter. Stig Richards with support from Bundy Rum there. So he's usually the pace setter in this class.
Ooh.
And I think that might be Palmer having a bit of a lose there.
Great to have Ian Palmer returning to the series. Everyone finding their feet around this circuit, given the grip. You can see again Palmer just dancing on the entry to 11 and 12.
Very hard for the first couple of laps too, with the safety car controlling the speed on the out lap. You could see how slow they were coming onto the start-finish straight to start the race. So trying to get heat into a cold slick on a greasy track like this, very, very difficult.
The Mercedes SLS GT3 of Peter Hackett, a feature coming up for you on that car. We'll tell you more about it. It's its debut this weekend. Up the front, though, look what's happening. The Viper, it really comes into its own at the end of the straight, whereas the Porsche at this point, now look at Wall, so deep under brakes, but he's wide. He holds it, though, through turn 2, back into the lead.
It's actually debatable too, Rusty, whether there's more grip out wide at turn 2 there. So perhaps Wall just using the extra grip offline to his advantage. But Greg Crick, very good in these conditions. He's hails from Tasmania and a lot of experience going back some 20 years in motor racing.
Riding with Damien Flack now. He leads the challenge class in this race. A non-finisher in race 1 yesterday. And Peter Boylan trying to get maximum points for the class for the weekend overall. But this is a really stunning drive by Flack at the moment as he moves through the field here, putting some pressure on Palmer. And down the inside, nice work.
Just got to be so careful not to kiss the curb on the inside. On board, the SLS GT3 with Peter Hackett. This car fresh into the country. Listen to the onboard audio, fantastic, and just looks so well balanced too.
They had an assessment, if you like, of this car and what they should do with it under the current rules, and it was Alan Simonson, the sports car racer, that drove it in Friday practice. But again, we see the Dodge Viper at the front here come into its own. Crick stretches the legs of that Viper GT3 and moves by David Wall. This guy's a two-time champion, David Wall, and has been running with the Brad Jones team in the endurance events, and will do that again in the V8 Supercar Enduros at the Island and Bathurst later in the year.
Campaigning a car in the Fujitsu series as well with Tony D'Alberto Racing, so a lot of miles this year. But this is what's fantastic about GT racing, the different characteristics of the cars. The Viper, very quick in a straight line. The Porsche will monster it under brakes, as he does. Back to third gear, so just a little bit more nimble, and you can place the car a little easier than the Viper.
Great group, the Wall Racing team. David's father, Des, many-time Australian sports sedan champion, and he was, in fact, to take part in this race with Richard Kimber in another Dodge Viper, but they're non-starters for this one, and Dean Grant has been passed there by Flack, so good through. And here comes the Mercedes, the SLS in the hands of Peter Hackett, moving by Dean Grant. Grant is sharing that car with Daniel Gorn. It's all going on here at Eastern Creek. A break and back with more. Nice to have you with us as our coverage of the Vodka-O Australian GT Championship continues. This is round 3 at Eastern Creek. Greg Ruston, Cameron McConville with you. Damien Flack coming under some pressure here from this magic-looking Mercedes SLS GT3. It's its first outing in Australia, the first race car of its kind to compete anywhere outside Europe. Your eyes don't deceive you. That's the rear-mounted camera showing him what's behind, but he's already made the move on Flack. Let's find out more now about this fantastic car.
Fantastic to be out in the first SLS GT3 outside Europe. We're very privileged, and we're really happy with the progress so far. It's remarkably similar to the SLS road car. GT3 is a category that's based on road vehicles. The engine's pretty much the same, 420 kilowatts, but we're restricted, and everything else about the car is similar except carbon panels. So we're really pleased with the performance and the comparison with the road cars as well. 6.3 litre V8, so it's the AMG SLS 63 motor, which AMG is famous for. Our race weight here in Australia is 14 1,465 kilos, I believe, and in Europe it's 1,365. So we're carrying a little bit of weight to help slow us down to 09 spec, and we're also carrying a fair bit of ride height, 20 mil. 0 to 100 figures, probably around 3.5, something like that. And you know, a big heavy car like that, it's the braking performance. We're pulling about 1.7 G, so it's you know, quite remarkable for a sports car. This is the first race car that Mercedes-AMG have produced since I think the 40s for customers, and you know, it just adds to the history of the marque. You know, it's such an exciting thing to be part of, because Mercedes-Benz you know, was built around motor racing. The very first Mercedes-Benz ever built was built for motor racing, and it's nice to be able to carry that heritage.
It's terrific to have it competing here. The GT Championship had its mid-year review, Cam, on Friday. He's flashing the lights here at Clark Quinn, and already some talk about other exciting marques joining the series. Lots of new cars on the horizon.
Fantastic that will be too, Rusty. So we'll see a whole heap of 2011 GT3 spec cars next year. There's some 458 Ferraris on order, and we're just hearing that there could be a black flag for this guy here, Clark Quinn, a drive-through penalty for a start line infringement.
And that would be as a result. We had some dramas for the Superlock entry of Kevin Weeks and a spin on the outlap for the Audi here of Mark Eddy. And as a consequence, these two competitors, to the right of your screen is Dean Grant, to the left is the VIP Pet Foods entry in the hands of Clark Quinn. They should be, as that graphic shows, one row further back. Even though it's a rolling start, you still have to leave that space.
And Rusty, you'd think that Dean Grant should be a little bit concerned, because he was involved in that one too. And here's a pass for the lead.
Crick won the opening race here at Eastern Creek yesterday, and this constant battle continues. Got to say, the weather conditions feel like they've improved a little. Still the wiper on for David Wall, but it does seem a little drier at the moment.
He's using a lot more road, particularly on the exit of 1. Still going out wide here. Quite a different line in the Cup S 911. So we're on board. There goes the Viper underneath, and just look how he's seesawing at the wheel. So he's certainly driving the car a lot more like it's a dry racetrack now.
Wall gets close on the run toward turn 4. He's there. He's done this a couple of times now. And that did seem, I have to say, a fraction easier, though, for David Wall. He really closed up on him through the exit of 3 and on the run toward turn 4. So Crick. Oh, no, there's definitely a drama there. You can hear something rattling, some sort of vibration for Greg Crick, and the gap tells the story. Already David Wall starting to pull away. Let's watch the Vodka Row replay here.
So he got a good exit, but then, yeah, he did very well not to run into the back of the Viper. So whether it's got some sort of gearbox or it's definitely a mechanical issue, and he's in the pits now. Real shame for Greg Crick, running that distinctive Jeep livery.
And it's the attention to the front splitter. So perhaps that was the sound we heard, the splitter dragging on the ground around the back of Corporate Hill. And here is a very fired up Clark Quinn coming into pit lane, fuming about the penalty. But based on the vision we saw before, Cam, it would appear to be a clear breach. We'll take a commercial break now. There's still a long way to go at Eastern Creek. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back, everybody. Round 3 continues of the Vodka Row Australian GT Championship. As you can see, Clark Quinn has rejoined in the VIP Mosler. He's come out behind the Audi in the hands of Mark Eddy. But Cam McConville, we should clear up the point, serving that drive-through penalty. He makes the pass here on Mark Eddy now. No other work is allowed to be done on that car, so he'll have to stop again. He'll have to do his compulsory stop a little later.
That's exactly right, and Clark's driving that car alone this weekend. So Stig Richards into the pits, and so's Flack.
This is our challenge leader, 3rd outright. He's done a superb job in this car, Damien Flack. So we'll see what the team do here. But a number of drivers, as Cam suggested, electing to go on their own, to go solo. But these guys here have partnered up. It's a good combination. Dean Grant, who's been in this series for some time, steps out of the car, and Daniel Gaunt ready to jump in.
And Gaunt, you can see, was standing behind the line, so he's not allowed to get into the car when the car pulls up. Oh, he's got the throttle there on the way in, so he's given it a big rev, but Gaunt should really be good in these conditions, a Kiwi driver, and currently running in Carrera Cup as well. So A different car, of course, in the GT Series, a Cup S model, a little bit more power, a bit more downforce to the standard Carrera Cup, and here he is now.
So Daniel Gaunt heading toward, this is the Cup S version of the Porsche. He's been battling with the 997 GT3 in the hands of Damien Flack, who's competing in the challenge class. So Gaunt straight into it. Look at the spits of rain there, Cam, on the front windshield. So we have rain becoming an issue, it would seem, once again. Mark Eddy did a tremendous job with Craig Lowndes and Warren Luffett Bathurst to finish second in the 12-hour. Ian Palmer leaves the lane just as David Wall arrives.
Different livery for Wall, a one-off appearance, or certainly his first appearance in the Australian GT Championship this year. Michelin livery on the car. Donut King on board now for Hackett. And we talked a little bit earlier about that rear view camera, Russ. You can see there's actually no mirror. So he's using the camera to see behind him. That could be handy in some of the championships I've been involved with, I reckon.
And you can see why the crews are following the stopwatch. You must be stationary for 1 minute. You can't afford finger trouble in any pit stop, but there's not as much need to rush for haste in these situations. So Eddy rejoins. Same story now for David Wall. So where will this all shake out in terms of the race lead? We're about to cleanse effectively the entire field once these compulsory stops are finished. From the rear of the grid, this guy's done a terrific job, Peter Hackett. Now the pit stop for Clark Quinn.
Yeah, and he's going to be out of contention, obviously, having that drive-through penalty. Tricky conditions for young Daniel Gaunt to jump in the car, having sat out the first part of the race, and just read the track. How much is it wet? How much is it dry? Cold rear tyres. Wall not particularly happy there with some lap traffic. And again, cold rears fitted to this car as well, and it looks like it is starting to rain again.
It would seem there's an ongoing investigation into that start line infringement. Remember that, as Ash Samadhi goes around, that's the best indication yet we've had of just how slippery it is at turn 9.
The Mosler there just got on the throttle a little bit too early. On board with Flack, and Quinn's lost it too.
Nice recovery from Flack. Read the situation, could see that Clark was in trouble on the run down into turn 4. Point I was going to make before is that start line infringement, given that Clark Quinn there has served the penalty, you would have to think that there'll be some sort of issue either soon or post-race for Daniel Gaunt. Nice save, just.
Yeah, he turned the wiper on, didn't he? Maybe just got a little bit distracted as he turned the wiper on. It really looked like it was raining on the back half of the circuit, certainly a lot more than the front straight, and that can happen here at Eastern Creek.
Prevented the car from firing in backwards to the wall there. Here is Flack. Daniel Gaunt putting the pressure on. The run toward turn 9, and the line is covered.
Not sure why he's really blocking there. These two cars are obviously, they're in different classes in the race, and you'd expect Gaunt a lot more experience, particularly in these conditions, and he gets through. Nice run. That will give him the inside line onto the front straight.
As far as Flack is concerned, leading that challenge class that Cam's talking about for this race. Peter Boylan having a great weekend, and so too are the team running the Lotus Exige. Boylan, in fact, is running in 3 classes in some other categories as well as a part of this race meeting. Jump on board. Vodka Row replay shows you the Cup S moving past.
And it wasn't even moving around, Rusty. You just see how well it braked in there, so a lot more confidence and trusting the grip level, I suppose, of the car. So the next one coming up on his radar is Hackett.
And here's the combination also in the challenge class, running the Lotus Exige. Cam said before, of course, power to weight, certainly helping this car in these conditions for Tim Poulton and Stig Richards. Second position. Is Hackett able to withstand the pressure from the Kiwi, Daniel Gaunt? He's getting closer. Last lap about to start here at Eastern Creek.
Just adjusting something inside the car there. Hackett, it's just seamless on the upshift. You hardly see his fingers move, so very much F1 style paddle shift on the SLS GT3. Coming through some lap traffic, Rusty, as you mentioned. Cleanly threw up the inside into turn 2.
David Wall comfortably in the lead of this one, and Hackett really now starting to feel the threat, the lapped competitor. Gaunt gets through quickly. So smooth, Peter Hackett. He's had a long association with Mercedes-Benz, hasn't he?
Of course, yeah, runs the National Drive program or Advanced Driver Days for Mercedes. That looks like Ian Palmer in the Viper up ahead, and I think he's going to actually slow the Merc up here a little bit.
Hackett a little tentative, and look at this, Gaunt has jumped on it. He seized the opportunity and nicely through. That's for second position.
Looks like he just caught him napping a bit there.
Will the Mercedes be able to fight back? Nothing they could do about this guy. Congratulations to the two-time champion who won this event at Eastern Creek last year. David Wall celebrates. Hackett hoping to be close enough for a run off the final turn and maybe snatch that second position back.
Actually, this will be interesting too, just to see how the Mercedes goes for straight line speed up against the Cup S. Like, he gets a good run onto the straight, but I don't think he's close enough. So great drive by Daniel Gaunt, P2, and Hackett will finish third.
And in really tricky conditions for the drivers too, Cam. Well done to the Wall Racing team. And look at that, Clark Quinn getting up for 5th position despite that drive-through penalty. And the Penfold Sport Audi R8, Mark Eddy, completes the top 6. Let's hear from our race winner now.
I really didn't expect that. We're having a ball out there, to tell you the truth. I love those type of conditions, especially when it sort of throws a spanner in the works. And yeah, I was having a ball there with Greg at the start, and it's just a great result for our team. And that's 3 in a row here that we've come 3 years in a row and done a good job here. So more than happy. It's great for Michelin, great for David Wall.
Oh, look, that was unbelievable. You don't realise how hard it is to drive on slick tyres in the wet and trying to keep the heat in them, and the car's just moving around everywhere, and then it dries and it gets wet. So, like Daniel, I knew he's a Kiwi, so they can drive in the wet, so I knew he was going to come home, but I didn't think he could get Pete. It was at the end there, we only had 1 lap to go. It was the last lap.
Pretty lucky there with the lap car. Sort of worked in our favour a little bit more than Pete's, and yeah, came home strong.
Yeah, on the last lap, I didn't know it was the last lap. A couple of back markers. It was really slippery in at turn 4 and 5, and I was just trying to plan a run on them. And Dan was like a rat up a drain pipe. He got past me. I didn't even see him, to be perfectly honest, till he was alongside me. But you know, it's a great result for Vodka Racing. A great debut for the SLS GT3. We're really excited about the car. The conditions were horrendous. It was among the most difficult conditions I've ever driven in, and just to stay on the track was a good thing. But it's great for Vodka Racing.
Mate, the rain just suits me down to a T, and now we've got a flying start and mixed it up with the big boys and got into 3rd outright at one stage and 1st for class, and then ended up slipping back to 4th. But look, mate, the car just felt fantastic, absolutely beautiful.
We're very happy. We took a conservative approach, as we have to with this car. We had nothing for Damien. I mean, the guy's an awesome driver in an awesome car, but we had a fantastic battle once again with Peter Boylan, who drives, again, superbly and is a really good match for us in the Lotus. And, you know, with Graham's support and with Bundaberg backing us for the season, it's really nice to get another result. And I believe, I'm no mathematician, but that this result puts Tim and I 1 and 2 in the challenge class. So, obviously, sponsors are happy, we're happy, and we look forward to more success for the rest of the year.
So they should be. The post-race investigation into Dean Grant's start sees a penalty applied to he and Daniel Gaunt, and it drops them down the order by 30 seconds. So to 4th place from 2nd. They're the updated standings for the challenge class. Next stop on the calendar is Townsville. We wish the competitors all the best on behalf of Cameron McConville and the entire Australian GT team. It's bye for now.